What if I told you there's something men crave even more than sex, but most women never realize it? Not because they don't care, but because it's something he's never going to ask for out loud. It's the one thing that makes a man stay, open up, and give you everything. Yet it's also the one thing many women find the hardest to give. And once you understand it, everything about the way you love and are loved will change. When we talk about what men really want in a relationship, the conversation usually drifts to physical intimacy. But the truth, buried underneath years of conditioning and silence, is that men are longing for something far more powerful: emotional safety. It's not something they'll often put into words because many haven't even identified it themselves. But you see it in the way a man's energy changes around someone who makes him feel safe to be himself. Not admired, not tolerated. Safe. This isn't about coddling or ego stroking. It's about being seen beyond the surface. A man walks around carrying pressure every single day. Pressure to perform, to provide, to stay strong, to suppress pain. From a young age, he's taught that his worth is tied to his strength, his control, and his ability to hide emotion. So he builds armor. He learns to laugh off hurt, shut down sadness, or stay quiet during fear. But that doesn't mean those feelings go away. They're buried, packed tightly under the surface. And when he comes home to someone he loves, whether he knows it or not, he's secretly craving a space to put that armor down. Not just physically, but emotionally. He needs a space where he can admit he's tired, where he can talk about feeling like he's failing or how lost he sometimes feels in a world that only values him for what he produces. But this kind of vulnerability can't be forced. It can't be demanded or scheduled. It only shows up when there's enough trust that it's safe to come out. And this is where so many relationships break down. Because while women often long for emotional connection too, men have been taught to express it differently, or not at all. And when a woman sees a man pull away or shut down, she may try to get closer by pressing harder, asking more, or even criticizing his lack of emotional openness, not realizing he's already operating at his emotional limit. Emotional safety to a man doesn't mean never being challenged. It means being challenged with love. It means not being shamed when he finally opens up. It means being allowed to feel without being told to man up, calm down, or fix it. He wants to know that if he drops the strong image for even 5 minutes, you won't love him any less. That he won't lose respect, that he won't be punished for showing up raw. And when a woman can provide that, when she can listen without rushing in, support without trying to control, and see through the silence, she becomes more than a partner, she becomes a sanctuary. This kind of emotional connection isn't built in one moment. It's built over time through patience, trust, and consistency. But when a man feels emotionally safe, everything about the relationship changes. He becomes more giving, more open, more present, because once he no longer needs to hide, he finally has the freedom to fully love. Respect is the currency men trade in when it comes to love. While women might often seek affection, verbal closeness, or gestures of care to feel loved, most men equate being respected with being loved. It's the foundation they build their sense of value on, especially in a relationship. It isn't just about polite words or letting him have his way. It's about how you treat him when no one is watching, how you speak to him when things go wrong, and how you handle moments when his confidence is already on the line. A man can be physically attracted, emotionally engaged, even deeply committed, but if he doesn't feel respected by his partner, that relationship slowly starts to feel like a place he has to prove himself, rather than a place he belongs. You see it in small moments when a man offers his opinion and it's dismissed without a second thought. When he makes a decision and is met with eye rolls, passive-aggressive comments, or a sarcastic whatever you say. When he tries to lead in his way and is constantly corrected, doubted, or made to feel inadequate for not doing it exactly how his partner would. These might seem like harmless reactions, especially if a woman feels she's being practical or logical, but to a man it lands as one thing: disrespect. And when that builds up, he doesn't become more motivated to try harder. He shuts down. He becomes quieter. He withdraws, not because he doesn't care, but because he doesn't feel like anything he brings is enough. Men are often running on invisible expectations, the unspoken pressure to always know what to do, to get everything right, to be strong and composed, even when he's confused or overwhelmed. When he fails, and he will, like anyone does, how you respond in that moment says everything to him. If he senses disappointment in your tone, mockery in your words, or control in your actions, he'll absorb it as proof that he's not measuring up. And that's the fastest way to get a man to emotionally check out. But when you show that even in his imperfect moments you still believe in him, that's when he comes alive. He starts to trust himself again through your eyes. He becomes more responsible, more confident, and more present. Not because you demanded it, but because you made him feel like he was already enough to begin with. Respect doesn't mean blind agreement or silence. It means communicating disagreement without belittling, sharing feedback without humiliating, and standing strong without crushing his sense of identity. It's a daily practice, how you speak about him to others, how you handle conflict with him, and how you treat his ideas, his efforts, and his presence in your life. Respect tells a man, I see you, I value what you bring, I trust your heart, even when we don't always agree. And when he feels that kind of respect from you, he will give you a version of himself that no one else gets. Appreciation is not just a nice gesture to men, it's emotional oxygen. It's the quiet validation they rarely ask for but deeply crave. Most men won't come out and say they need to be appreciated. They won't ask, "Did you notice what I did today?" or "Do you see how hard I'm trying?" Instead, they just keep doing, keep showing up, hoping that their efforts are seen, even if they don't get acknowledged. Over time, though, when those efforts go unnoticed, it wears on them. It starts to feel like their role is being taken for granted, like their contribution is expected rather than valued. That feeling doesn't just make them tired, it makes them feel invisible. Men are often programmed to believe that being useful is being worthy. So they step into roles: provider, protector, problem solver. And when they do these things, they're not looking for a standing ovation, but a moment of appreciation. Even just a simple thank you or "I really see what you did today" hits in a place that nothing else does. It tells him, you matter. I notice you. I don't expect these things. I'm grateful for them. That might sound small, but it has a powerful effect on a man's spirit. It makes him feel seen, not just for what he produces, but for the intention behind it. Appreciation, when it's genuine, goes beyond surface level compliments. It's not just "you look handsome" or "you're strong." It's "I noticed how you handled that situation calmly," or "the way you show up for us every day, even when you're tired, means a lot to me." It's being attentive to the little things, the way he pays the bills without needing to be asked, the way he fixes something that broke, or how he sacrifices his time to make you feel supported. These things, though routine, are often where he's putting his love, and when those acts go unacknowledged, it doesn't just feel like he's being ignored, it feels like his love is being overlooked. What makes appreciation even more meaningful is when it comes unprompted, not after a big fight, not when he's clearly feeling low, but in the normal rhythm of life, when he least expects it. That's when it feels the most real. And when a man feels appreciated, he doesn't just keep doing what he's been doing, he does more. Not because he feels obligated, but because he wants to. It energizes him. It fills him with pride. It reminds him why he tries so hard in the first place. But when appreciation is replaced with criticism or indifference, that energy starts to fade. He may still do the same actions, but his heart won't be in it. He'll feel like he's operating in a space where he can never quite measure up. And over time, that emotional disconnection builds. Because at the core, every man just wants to know that who he is and what he gives isn't being taken as a duty, is being cherished as a gift. Men are taught to solve problems. It's how they're raised, how they communicate, how they express value. So when they speak, they often do it with the intent to fix, to offer answers, or to keep things practical. But when a man opens up, not with a solution, but with emotion, it's a rare and raw moment. It means he's putting aside the instinct to be in control and letting you see a version of him that the rest of the world doesn't get to see. In those moments, he doesn't want answers. He doesn't want to be redirected, coached, or corrected. He simply wants to be heard. And that's where so many women, without realizing it, miss a chance to deeply connect. There's a natural instinct to want to help, especially when you care. If he says he's stressed, the instinct might be to say, well, maybe you should talk to someone, or you just need to stop overthinking. But to him, those words can feel like shutdowns. They make him feel like his emotion is a problem to be solved, not a truth to be accepted. What he really wants in that moment is space. Space to not have the answer. Space to be unsure. Space to sit with whatever he's feeling and not be judged or pushed toward action. Sometimes a man will express something and immediately follow it with silence. That silence isn't always a sign that he's done talking. It's often him feeling out whether it was safe to say what he just said. He's watching how you react. Do you panic? Do you try to fix it? Do you give him a solution? Or do you just let him be? When a man is given the freedom to just sit in his thoughts without being steered somewhere else, he starts to trust that it's safe to be real with you. And being real for a man isn't easy. He's not used to being validated for his emotions. He's used to being rewarded for keeping them in check. So when he opens up, even just a little, it's a huge internal shift. It means he's letting go of control, which is one of the few things he believes he has to hold on to. And when that control isn't challenged, but instead met with understanding, he feels accepted. Not tolerated, not managed, truly accepted. Sometimes what helps the most is silence. Sitting next to him without needing to say anything. Letting him know that his struggle doesn't make him less attractive, less masculine, or less competent in your eyes. Letting him feel like he doesn't have to perform, impress, or explain. That he can be flawed and still be fully loved. The women who master this aren't passive, they're present. They understand that being supportive isn't about directing someone toward the right path. It's about walking beside them long enough for them to find it themselves. That kind of emotional presence is rare, but it's unforgettable, and for a man, it's everything. Men live in a world where they are expected to lead, decide, solve, and act with certainty. From a very young age, they are taught that their value is measured by their ability to make the right decisions, to keep everything under control, and to navigate life's challenges with composure and strength. This pressure doesn't go away when they enter a relationship. In fact, it often intensifies. A man wants to feel that he is trusted, not just as a partner, but as someone capable, dependable, and competent. When the woman he loves shows him that she trusts his judgment, especially in difficult or uncertain times, It sends a message far deeper than any romantic words ever could. It says, "I believe in you even when you're not perfect." That belief is everything. The truth is, most men doubt themselves more than they let on. They question their choices, wonder if they're enough, and carry the fear of letting people down, but they rarely admit it. So when the person closest to them constantly questions or overrides their decisions, even in small ways, it reinforces the internal fear that maybe they don't have what it takes. It chips away at their confidence, not because of the disagreement itself, but because of how it's expressed. If every decision is met with correction, if every plan is second-guessed, if every effort to take initiative is challenged with criticism, it becomes exhausting. Over time, he stops trying, not out of laziness, but because he no longer feels that his leadership means anything. He feels like he's always being watched, always being evaluated, and never quite getting it right. It's not about agreeing with everything he says or letting him lead blindly. It's about communicating trust even when you have questions. There's a difference between offering perspective and undermining someone. A man hears it in your tone. He reads it in your body language. When he senses that you are constantly waiting for him to mess up, or that you believe you would have handled things better, it doesn't inspire him to improve. It makes him retreat. He starts filtering himself, playing it safe, or worse, disconnecting emotionally, because he feels like he's never truly allowed to lead without scrutiny. But when a woman shows trust in his decision-making, especially in moments of uncertainty, something powerful happens. He steps up. He becomes more decisive, more careful, and more thoughtful. Not because he feels pressured, but because he feels empowered. He wants to rise to the standard that your trust sets for him. It creates a cycle of positive reinforcement. The more you trust him, the more he trusts himself, and the better his choices tend to become. He feels like he has a place where he's not only loved, but respected and believed in. That kind of environment makes him want to be the best version of himself, not because he has to earn love, but because he's inspired by it. Trust also shows up when he makes mistakes. When things don't go according to plan, when he gets it wrong, or when he fails at something important. In those moments, how you respond defines the emotional tone of the relationship. If your reaction is harsh, dismissive, or condescending, it confirms every fear he already had. But if you stay calm, express support, and show that one mistake doesn't change the way you see him, he won't forget it. That's when he knows he's safe. That's when he realizes you're not just with him for what he gets right, but because of who he is trying to be. That kind of trust builds something unshakable between two people. There's something deeply personal and fragile about a man's need to be loved for who he is, not for what he does. Society doesn't often give men that kind of love. They're praised for their achievements, their financial success, their physical strength, their ability to stay composed under pressure. They're rewarded when they win, when they earn, when they provide. And over time, it conditions them to believe that their value lies solely in their performance, that if they stop achieving, stop winning, or fall short in any area, they become less desirable, less respected, and ultimately less worthy of love. It's a heavy burden to carry, especially in a relationship where they want to feel like they can finally let go of that pressure. What most men don't say out loud is that they're scared to be chosen only for the image they project. They worry that if they lost the job, the status, the income, or the role they play, they also lose the affection they receive. That underneath all their strength, they're only as lovable as their last success. This creates a kind of emotional paranoia, a constant questioning of whether they're truly seen, whether their partner actually values their character, their hearts, their intentions, or if they're just filling a role until someone more accomplished, more impressive, or more put together comes along. This is why admiration, not just love, but admiration is so important to a man. Not admiration for his career or his paycheck, but admiration for his kindness, his honesty, his consistency, the way he treats people, the way he tries even when it's hard, the way he shows up even when he's exhausted. That kind of recognition tells him that you're not with him because of the role he plays. You're with him because of the soul he brings. And when a man feels that kind of love, it softens him. It makes him want to open up. It makes him more emotionally available because he doesn't feel like he has to keep performing to be worthy. Too often, though, men fall into relationships where they're loved conditionally, not always in obvious ways, but in subtle cues, when affection increases during times of success and fades during failure, when they're only praised after hitting milestones but rarely acknowledged in the in-between, when they feel celebrated in public but criticized in private. These patterns might not even be intentional, but to a man, they're clear, and it makes him wonder whether the connection is built on something real or just convenient. When a woman makes a man feel chosen just as he is, without needing to prove, to produce, or to impress, it becomes a grounding force for him. It gives him a sense of peace that he doesn't find in the outside world. Out there, he's always competing, always pushing, but with her, he doesn't have to be on. He can laugh without needing to be funny, rest without needing to be productive, speak without having the perfect words. That kind of space is rare. It becomes more than a relationship. It becomes home. What really keeps a man in love is not how much he's admired when he wins, but how loved he feels when he doesn't, when things go wrong, when he's insecure, when he doesn't have answers. If he still feels chosen in those moments, if he still feels respected and desired, he'll never forget it. Because that's when he knows it's not about what he gives, it's about who he is. And that's the kind of love every man is searching for, even if he doesn't know how to ask for it. So when we strip everything down, past the surface level needs, past the myths about masculinity, past what the world tells us men want, what we find is something profoundly human. Men don't just want sex. They don't just want admiration from a distance. They crave something deeper, something that rarely gets spoken about but is felt in the quiet corners of every relationship. They want to feel emotionally safe. They want to be respected, appreciated, trusted, and chosen, not for what they do, but for who they are when all the walls are down. These needs aren't loud. They don't come out as demands. They're often hidden behind silence, sarcasm, or distance. But they're there. And when a woman learns to see through the armor, when she becomes the one place where he doesn't have to perform, he doesn't just stay, he commits, not out of obligation, not out of fear, but because he's finally found what he didn't know he was missing. A love that makes him feel whole, a love that makes him feel home.